Hey everyone, this is Ultra Runner. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about toxic positivity. Never really thought I'd hear those two words put together, but apparently that's kind of a thing now. And I've watched a couple of YouTubers over the last probably few weeks, I guess, talk about how some collectors in the community, whether it's YouTubers or just commenters, are toxically positive about the releases that we have. And it's kind of funny, I never really thought anybody would say people that collect could be toxic, but in a positive realm. And a couple of the different takes on it was, well, some people don't ever talk bad about, Hasbro or, specifically like with Transformers or like Hot Toys or things like that. And I'm going to address, a couple of 6-scale figures as well in this. So I'm starting off with Transformers just because definitely significantly more Transformers figures I have than Hot Toys. But yeah, so part of it was just like, okay, well, you can't, if you're just letting Hasbro make stuff, you're not calling them out on it, then you're being part of the problem. Or if you get it and you're not criticizing for all the faults it has, then you're being negative. I mean, you're being toxically positive. But I guess I don't really see it that way because, when I was collecting, starting, decades ago, it was really just people who were into collecting. So you picked up what you like, you didn't have many offerings, and not that you were grateful for what you got. It was just one of those things where you were happy to get the characters or figures you want when they were made, because there was no guarantee you were going to get what was available, or they were going to make what you wanted. But now in this day and age where we have anywhere from a really large diverse offering from Hasbro, covering anything you want from G1 to movies, Bayverse, the whole nine, and then of course you have third parties like Fans Toys and X-Transbot. You've got people who make KOs, you got Magic Square, all those guys. I don't understand what the big deal is, because since you have your pick of the lot, you can essentially pick up anything you want and be either happy with it or content with it, and not, I guess really, since you have a choice, you can pick the version you want. And if the closest to what you want, then that's all you really need. Now granted, is it going to be perfect? No. I mean, there's tons of figures that we buy, and especially like in Transformers that we buy, that aren't absolutely spot on. They're not perfect, and I'm not expecting a transforming Transformer to be perfect. There's going to be some compromise. It's just part of what it is. If you look at like Blockies, or 3-0, yes, they're going to be a lot more accurate because there's no transforming that has to be considered when making it. I look at something like Superion. Some of the complaints with Superion was, he could have had articulated fingers. He's part of him just doesn't look right. Some of the proportions are weird, and yeah, stuff like that. And yeah, you can get a DNA kit and fix a lot of that stuff. Then you got people like figures like Gears, where people just raved about how great it was. And still, well, he should have been cheaper. Well, there's always going to be an excuse for anything you want if you're just trying to find stuff out. But like for me, I collect because I enjoy it, and if it's not fun, I don't want to do it anymore. So like Wind Charger, for example, Wind Charger's got if you want to complain about anything, the gaps by his feet are just horrible. But at the end of the day, that's a deluxe $27 figure. I mean, when they've got stuff like Braun, who just crushed it, I don't really see the issue. And I don't really talk negative about anything I have, because everything I have because I want, and it's in my collection because I want it, not because somebody's making me do it. I'm not like a lot of these guys who have affiliates, and they're getting basically either these units for free or reduced, or they're getting some type of kickback for putting their links in the comments, which, things like that nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to take it with a grain of salt. If somebody's getting paid to do this stuff, then of course they're going to have some type of, they're going to some dog in the fight. So, and I know controversy sells, and you get way more clicks when you're super negative or hypercritical of something. But I don't think collecting should be a point where, at least I feel it shouldn't be a point where, if I feel that this is stressful or negative, then I just won't do it anymore. I don't think that's really what we got into collecting for. And, maybe this is just a new age where that's just, designed to get draws to certain channels and things like that. But if you're your own personal collector, you're collecting your own stuff, are you really complaining about everything you get? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. This version of Hot Rod, I have the original right here. Personally, I like that color. He may not be movie accurate, but when I think of Hot Rod and Rodimus Prime, I never thought about this magenta flavor color. I just thought about the fact that he's kind of like a reddish burgundy color. Now, I do like the fact that they changed the top of him so he doesn't have the big yellow clip, and they changed some of the pieces on the side. And I think in alt mode, that's easily the best looking Hot Rod we've gotten so far, just for the seamlessness. But he is not replacing this one here that I have posed with a Matrix. I think I just went in my mind's eye, when I think of Hot Rod, that's the colors I think of, and he's going to stay there next to, my Cell Studio Unicron. That's where he's going to belong. I even canceled the Masterpiece because I was going to get the MPG, but I was like, you know what? I really don't even care about that. Hot Rod's not my guy like that anyway, but again, yes, you can complain that they're issuing the same characters over and over again, like Cup. You've got two different versions of him. You had the Buzzworthy Bumblebee version and the original release, and could they've gotten it right the first time? Things like that. I would say, yes, you want to be critical of it, but when we first got Cup, nobody was saying, oh, hey, we should get a different Cup. They gave us a different Cup, and then everybody went back and said, okay, well, why didn't you give us this the first time? Well, one, we just get into a situation where we want what we want, and I think sometimes with them, a lot of these people that make this stuff, Hasbro and all these guys, they basically give us either what they decide they're going to give us, or the version they think we want, and then after community feedback, a lot of times they'll come back and do it again. But I guess most importantly, these companies their only loyalty is to their shareholders. Yes, they have to sell stuff to us, but in the day, that's not really what's important. What's really important to them is, okay, can I get this stuff sold so my shareholders can keep investing in us and things of that nature. And so I think from a collector standpoint, like for me to pick up something like, I don't know, like both versions of Perceptor, the first one was good and the second one is much better. Now, should I go nuts and just berate, the corporation for basically putting two things like that out? I don't know. For me, it's like, I was happy with the first release. It came out in the second release. I just didn't have to buy it. So at the end of the day, none of these figures or characters are guaranteed to us. They're not doing this because we demand it and they have to make it. If they decided to not make it anymore tomorrow, there's nothing we can do about it. We're just out of it. So let me run downstairs and show you guys some of the Hot Toys issues too. So, and then we have the same situation with 6 scale. So you'll end up with multiple versions of a figure, and the complaints is, well, it's too much of this, too much of that. Or you'll have people that kind of go, well, hey, dude, I'm just stoked that they even made this. Well, is that being positive to a toxic level? The fact that, so I got this concept art mall, and I didn't like the head that came with it, but that was exactly what he looked like in the concept art. So I bought a secondary mall, the 2.0, and then swapped the head out on him. That's just what it is. I was perfectly fine with that. I look at somebody like Savage here, which The two little things I would want to complain about are so minor, not even worth talking about. Am I super happy to have this guy in my collection? 100%. Would I change anything about him? Yeah, there's always be things I would like to change. I mean, first and foremost, I would love if Hot Toys actually, for any of the animated characters, came with an animated head sculpt and their real world representation of a head sculpt, of that same head sculpt. You know, because what they do is they try to make them like live action looking, which I'm fine with that. But outside of that, am I gonna complain? No, I'm gonna rape about it. And I've said it on my video multiple times with this guy is phenomenal. Another one down here is the Darth Vader Sent Apprentice, which is the Artisan Edition Japanese exclusive version, which one I have. And, you know, everybody's complaining about the pleather and his hair and stuff like that. I just happen to have an Anakin, and that's it. And yeah, he was not standard because it wasn't released in the US, and a lot of the YouTubers like, oh, you shouldn't get this, but I'm gonna get it. And it's kind of like, okay, well, are you keeping your integrity by doing what you're advising your watchers to do, or is it just, hey, I want to have something that nobody else has? Because when they do their collection tours, they're talking about, oh, hey, look at this, and this is limited and nobody else got it. And it's like, I don't understand that piece. So in that case, are you being toxic in a negative fashion and then not showing any integrity by going and picking up the same thing you said not to get? I think about, for instance, like, when it comes to being super positive, I just got Jinx in. Yeah, I'm not going to really do a review on it because I don't really do reviews, but this is phenomenal. What would I change on this? A couple things, but if I had to change anything, it would be, like I said before, give me this head sculpt, which is the animated head sculpt, and the real world version of the head sculpt. That'd be it. They did another release and did a second release with her with the animated head sculpt. Would I buy it? Absolutely. I mean, I have a whole shelf dedicated to Arcane. Right now, it's only Jinx and Vi. And Vi, she should be coming in the next probably 2 weeks, I say, based on what Sideshow is saying. But yeah, everything I have in my collection, I absolutely adore. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Are any of those figures perfect? Nope. But when I look at my shelf, I don't look and go with any disdain or any disgust, like, oh, I wish they would have did this. This is so horrible. I can't wait to get rid of it. No, everything I bought, I absolutely want there. And the stuff I didn't really want is all gone from my collection now. So as you're looking through here, oh, this belongs over here. Yeah, she belongs over there. But everything I have in my collection now, it's stuff I absolutely adore. And if you were to ask me, like when I do my next collection tour, I'm going to wait for a couple more pieces to come in. But am I going to be positive to a toxic level? Could be possible. I mean, maybe that's what I am because I'm just super happy with what I have and I'm content with the fit and finish of everything I have. And there's nothing I've bought that was for review or for any type of requirement because I'm an affiliate or anything like that at all. I got it because I want it, and super stoked with everything I have in my collection. And if that type of positivity is toxic, I guess that's kind of a weird situation to be in, but being content with everything you have and enjoying it all should be what I think we do as collectors. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're not finding joy in collecting, and being positive about it or being negative about it becomes such a big area of collecting that we've kind of lost the joy and really what we're doing. But I guess let me know. If maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe I'm coming from a wrong perspective. Maybe I'm toxically positive, about what I collect. But I'll tell you this, and I've said this many times. If you see me talking about something on my channel, it's because I love it. I don't really do releases unless a release I'm going to pick up. I don't really do the news because You know, one of the things I can't stand, and this is just for other YouTubers that do this, is they'll have something in the thumbnail, and I'm like, man, I want to see what they think about it, and then they either skip over it, don't spend much time on it, or they don't even care about it. And it's like, why'd you even put it in your show? But they do it because somebody else is looking for it. And for me, I'd rather have you guys take a look at it, know that if you see it on my channel, it's going to be something that I enjoy, and I'm going to be super positive about it. And you know, really, I'm going to know the product, I'm going to know the background of the IP. It's not going to just be me trying to get news clicks, you know. So, you know, I don't want to, you know, harsh anybody's mellow, you know, yuck anybody's yum. If you see something on my channel, you know I'm going to be probably raving about it, super enthusiastic about it, and ready to pick it up myself. So, and you know, that's just how it is. So I know everybody doesn't really work that way, but if that makes me toxically positive, I guess that is probably somebody else's problem, not mine. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying collecting, and I hope you guys are too. Let me know your thoughts below. Appreciate you guys stopping by, hanging out with me. All right, later.